I brought my hat, but I think I'll leave it off.
That's Andy's.
I think I'd like to start welcoming our audience, which if you think we're ready, Andrew.
Okay. Why don't you go ahead, Nancy?
Good evening.
But we gotta, oh, go ahead.
Good evening. I'm Nancy Chandler, your host tonight from the Topsham Energy Committee for the first of an interesting series of programs on energy use in our homes and businesses. Tonight, we have exciting speakers who will share their experience in reducing energy loss from buildings, making homes more comfortable, saving fuel and money. For some background, Topsham's Energy Committee started in October of 2020. We research and recommend strategies, policies, and projects to the Select Board of Topsham that will achieve energy conservation and thus reduce Topsham's energy costs and greenhouse gas emissions. We also offer public information, education, and outreach on energy conservation and renewable energy on our website and through public education events like this one. The 7 Energy Committee members ourselves practice energy conservation in our homes and vehicles, some of us using electric cars, walking, and bicycles. We encourage our residents, schools, and business community to conserve energy, adapt solar energy, electricity, and heating, and switch to renewable electricity for heating, cooling, and power to align with the goals and strategies of the Maine Climate Council. We meet publicly via Zoom at 4:30 on the 4th Tuesday of the month. For more information on our committee, and we'll have this up in the chat, and to find out when the details of our next energy webinar or to join our meetings virtually, please visit www.topsammaine.com/energy. We plan to host our next session in January, so stay tuned for details on topsammaine.com/energy or Topsam's Facebook page. Our first speaker is Andrew Meyer, a residential program manager at the state agency Efficiency Maine, and he will share some of the many financial incentives available for homeowners and businesses to evaluate our living spaces for energy loss and how to tighten up our envelopes of our buildings. I hope his introduction will encourage you to go online to efficiencymaine.org to learn about their grant programs for energy audits, increasing insulation in our houses, heat pumps, and heat pump water heaters. Andy has been with Efficiency Maine for 12 years and now manages weatherization, heat pumps, boiler, appliance, and LED light programs. Our second speaker are Gard Conley and Katie Luce from Habitat for Humanity here in Topsham. Gard ran a large social service agency in Massachusetts that met housing, physical, and mental health needs of their clients. Gard takes crews to homes of people 65 years and older to assess safety, weatherization needs, and makes repairs to stairs, door jambs, heating vents, and installs interior storm windows. Habitat's service area covers 31 towns in Sagadahoc, plus northern Cumberland counties. And our final speaker is Sam Saltonstall, who is chair of the board for Window Dressers, which helps homeowners build interior removable storm windows in many communities in Maine and New Hampshire. Window Dressers trains volunteers to use a laser system to measure up to 10 windows per home, then holds a community build events to construct those window inserts in many towns. Sam created a similar series of community workshops a couple years ago in Bath for people to learn about energy efficiency and renewable energy with the neighborhood church there. Sam helped this United Church of Christ to change Bath's historic district rules to allow visible solar panels with planning board approval. Please hold your questions for the end of the program or put them in the chat at any time. And let's take it away. Andy Meyer from Efficiency Maine.
Thank you, Nancy, and thanks to everybody on the Energy Committee. This is a great opportunity for people to safely get together. Andrew, would you like me to share my screen?
Go ahead, Andy. Yep.
Okay, I'm going to share. Let's see if I can make this work. Let's just confirm. Can everybody see this?
Yes.
Okay. Again, thanks, Nancy, and everyone on the Topsham Energy Committee. We're really lucky to have folks like you investing your time, volunteering your time to help the people of Topsham. And Andrew, thanks for driving and setting this all up. I appreciate it. I'm going to do a quick introduction of Efficiency Maine just so you understand where I'm coming from and the point of view I've got. We quite simply, we run Maine's energy efficiency and renewable energy programs. That's what we do. There are 4 things we do that I'm going to be talking about in these few slides. The first is rebates. That's what I think we're best known for. We offer financing for energy efficiency projects for the part that the rebate doesn't cover. We offer technical information, and we're very lucky to have a registry of 800 independent, licensed, and insured vendors, people that can help you and make upgrades to your home. We're funded a variety of ways, including on your electric bill or your natural gas bill. When fossil fuel powered plants run and emit pollution, they have to pay for permission to emit pollution. And those fees, although we don't run that exchange, but the fees from that come to us. We get paid a variety of other ways as well. And just from a governance point of view, our board of directors is appointed by the governor and confirmed by the legislature. So that's who we are. I realize I'm presenting to an energy committee. So I'm preaching to the choir here, but just to be specific on some of the reasons, there's a wide range of why people invest in energy efficiency. The most common is lowering energy costs. I will tell you now, with fuel prices going up right now, we are getting 2 times the number of calls we usually get. People are really concerned about how they're going to be paying to heat their homes this winter. And good news is we're well funded to help people. We've got rebates and installers to help people. So it's a good news story. So lowering costs is obvious. I'm going to guess maybe some people in this committee are also interested in reducing environmental impact. And the beauty is energy efficiency does both at once. Some people approach energy efficiency from a more practical point of view. They get tired of ice dams or frozen pipes, cold and drafty rooms. I grew up with all of those. We thought that was normal. I now realize that was a poorly insulated house. We used to leave the shower running all night on cold nights. That was my whole childhood. I didn't know any better. I thought everyone left their showers running all night. Some people are interested in energy efficiency just as they want to be comfortable. They're tired of being cold in the winter, tired of being hot in the summer. Our summers are getting hotter. And so people are buying tens of thousands of heat pumps, thousands of homeowners are weatherizing their homes. Weatherizing, insulating makes a house more comfortable in the winter, obviously. It can also make a house more comfortable in the summer, keeping the heat out. The next point I got here is making basements and attics more usable. In this time of COVID-19, more people are working from home and they're looking to weatherize their house so that that unusable attic becomes usable space, or that dark and wet and cold basement becomes usable office space so people can work from home. And weatherizing a home is an opportunity to make those spaces usable. Others are motivated by improving air quality, and then there's just lots of side benefits we hear from folks, like spending less time up on ladders, changing incandescent light bulbs, or folks like me grew up shoveling snow, not just the walkways and driveways, but literally shoveling snow off roofs because they had a poorly insulated house that was causing ice dams. So lots of different reasons. It's really no reason not to. It doesn't make sense to be wasting energy. So that's who we are, and that's why some different motivation for people participating in our programs. I'm going to now talk about Our rebates, and Nancy had suggested that we make a focus on weatherization rebates. There's lots of fine print. I'll tell you that right up front. A lot of fine print in our program. So we encourage you to go to efficiencymaine.com and check out the details, or talk to one of our residential registered vendors that they can help you maximize rebates. We love to pay rebates, I'll tell you that. And the punchline on weatherization rebates is Mainers with any income, regardless of income, are eligible for insulation rebates up to $3,500. I just want to be clear as I go through, when I say rebate, I mean a check that we mail you in the mail and you deposit it in your bank. I'm not talking about tax credits or tax deductions. I'm talking about money. So we would mail you a check for up to $3,500 if you insulated your home. And for those who are income qualified, we mail you a check for up to $9,600. We have very, very attractive rebates for everybody in Maine, but especially our income qualified neighbors. When I say income qualified, there's two ways to be eligible for our income qualified rebates. It's either participating in fuel assistance program, LIHEAP, or have an assessed value for your home and land combined of under $130,000 in Saginaw County. So one of those two would qualify you for our income qualified rebates. I'm going to just quickly go through our other rebates without a lot of detail, but just to give you a feel for the breadth and how generous the rebates are. If you wanted to put in a heat pump, we rebated 20,000 of them last year. 70,000 heat pumps have been rebated in Maine. So insulation and heat pumps are the two most popular. We would offer rebates up to $1,200 for anyone in Maine, and double that up to $2,400 for income qualified people. You don't need to memorize this. It's all on our website, but I just wanted to get a feel. We're not talking $5 or $10 or $20. We're talking thousands of dollars. Hybrid water heaters or heat pump water heaters, we rebated 10,000 of them last year. It's the most popular electric water heater in the state. 1 out of every 10 heat pump water heaters in the country comes to Maine. We offer a rebate up $850 for anyone in Maine. And people who are income qualified, we will actually hire a plumber, send a plumber to your house, remove your old water heater, install a heat pump water heater, and you won't pay a dime. We'll pay for the whole thing, including removing the old one. Labor, everything. There's no fine print there. Electric vehicles could be up to $2,000 for anyone in Maine, up to $5,500 for income qualified people. If you're income qualified, you buy a used electric vehicle, you still be eligible for a $2,500 rebate. Plug-in hybrids, $1,000 for anyone, up to $4,000 for income qualified. For folks who are natural gas, not propane, but natural gas, Maine natural gas customers, we're running a program right now where we'll pay $200 towards a smart thermostat. In some cases, that can cover the entire cost. And then clothes washers, $50. And LED light bulbs is the smartest investment you can make. And if you go to any store in Maine, you'll find the LEDs are 50 cents for a regular Edison shaped bulb and $1 for reflector bulbs or any specialty bulbs. Those prices are actually marked down because we're paying the retailer after they make the sale to you. And you can find the best prices in the state on our website for LED light bulbs. And we helped retailers mark down 1.5 million light bulbs just last year. We've rebated roughly 25 million light bulbs in the history of Efficiency Maine. So Mainers have way ahead of the rest of the country in switching to LED light bulbs. Those are some of the most popular rebates that we have. I said I'd talk about 4 things: rebates, financing, installers, and technical information. Our home energy loans are really helpful for people who are looking for a way to make energy efficiency immediately cash flow favorable. We'll lend up to $15,000, 4.99 to 5.99% annual percentage rate. There are no fees, no closing fees, no prepayment fees. You just pay back the money with interest, and we'll lend up to 15 years. And a nice planning number is a $10,000 loan costs $106 a month. So it really, and you could be saving more than $106 a month. So we will make energy efficiency between our rebates and our loans immediately cash flow positive. People often ask, how long does energy efficiency take to pay back? And it's not a fair question. You would immediately have more money. In fact, if you took out a loan for the whole project and asked us to send you the rebate check, you'd actually have some extra Christmas spending money. You'd actually be ahead. There's nothing to pay back. You would start ahead, and over time, you get more ahead. It's a really great story. And we already talked about the other benefits. So I said, talk about rebates, talk about loans. Let's go on and talk about federal tax credits. These are all detailed on our website. You don't have to remember them, but I wanted people to get a feel for how much financial incentives there are from the federal government. So there's solar and electric vehicles, insulation. I highlighted that because Nancy wanted to focus on insulation, heat pumps, water heaters, pellet stoves, wood stoves. And we have all this information or links to it on our website. So if you want to know how to get incentives for energy efficiency, come on over to efficiencymaine.com and we'll take you, we'll show you our rebates. We'll also show you federal tax credits. If people have questions, please put them in the chat. I said we had 4 things: rebates, loans, and I said technical information. I'm just going to show you a sample of some of the website tools that we have. One is most popular, I said that I would talk about our registered vendors. This is a really great tool on our website. We get about 40,000 people each year use this tool. It's very, very powerful. You can put in the service you're looking for example, insulation or heat pumps or heat pump water heaters or a whole bunch of categories. You put in your zip code, what distance you want to search. You can go anywhere from, I think the minimum is something like 10 miles, the maximum is the entire state, and run a search. And we will show you all the contractors that are licensed, insured, certified, and have signed a code of conduct as to how they'll work with homeowners. Pop up on your screen. We'll give you the phone numbers, we'll give you the email address, we'll give you the websites, and we'll even give you suggested questions you might ask. If you're not sure what to ask when you're getting quotes from at least 3, that's what we hope you do, at least 3, we'll give you some suggested questions so that you can find a vendor that's best for you. I like to say that all of our vendors are good and all of our customers are good, but some are a better fit for one another than others. So what you're really trying to do is who's the best contractor for you personally. So this has been a wildly successful tool, and you can find whoever's in the Topsham area. So I talk about rebates, loans, contractors, and then information. This is a kind of a fun little tool. Nancy expressed an interest in energy audits. This isn't an energy audit, but it's a very quick way, in just a couple of minutes. You can enter square footage of your home and how much energy you use, either in gallons or electricity. It's just in dollars per year. Click calculate. And this particular example here, this is a 2,000 square foot home using 800 gallons of oil, $1,000 worth of electricity, and 1 quart of wood. Click calculate, and the answer pops up. Your house uses 42% more energy than a typical weatherized home. Click here to find a participating energy advisor to help you maximize your savings and explore project financing options. That's just an example there. You can adjust it and you can find out, how efficient is your house? Is it worth considering investing in efficiency, or maybe you're already there? So it's a very simple, it's crude tool. It's not an energy audit. But that's one resource we have on our website. We have a bunch of print resources. If you feel more comfortable having printed material, you can call our call center, which I'll give you a number in a minute, or you can download and print it off our website. So it depends, but here are some examples as to how to find a registered vendor. This one I have weatherization, myths and facts. Quick guide to home heating will help you compare different types of heating season systems like oil or propane or heat pumps. Try and compare how much you might be able to save with different types of heating systems. We have lots and lots of information. I'm not going to go through any more. We have a lot more than what's listed here, but we've tried to provide information that's helpful for Mainers to help them navigate and understand what's the best investment for them, for their needs. And my last slide is our website, which is efficiencymaine.com. And we have a toll-free number. This is for everything. This is for business, commercial, industrial, residential, low income, anything at all, any upgrade you're interested in. You just call 866-376-2463, and we would love to help you on the path toward energy efficiency. Hopefully that helps people out, and I'm going to stop sharing. So I'm going to turn things over to Gard and Kate, if you two are ready.
We were born ready, right?
Good for you.
I'm going to go ahead and share our screen. All right, and Gard, I'll let you take it away.
Can we just scroll down through?
Sure.
We have three, well, why don't I go back to start? Habitat basically has a home building program, the Restore, which some of you may be aware of in terms of fundraising. And we have three critical repair and weatherizing teams. Our former director used to say that we're weatherizing around the low-hanging fruit. We don't have members of our teams who are able to do the sort of scientific testing to know how much heat loss or gain you're getting in your house. But we're doing a lot of critical repairs for people so they can stay safe in their homes. A lot of our clients are seniors and low income, and numbers of them are people with disabilities. So it's a varied population. We have a lot of folks who are aging out of their homes. And so some of what we do is providing accessibility options for people. Do you want to talk a little bit about Habitat in general?
Yeah. So I think, as Gard said, Habitat is probably most well known for the houses that we built. But lesser known are the three amazing teams of volunteers, one of which Gard leads, that goes out and performs these critical repairs. So oftentimes, if you're elderly or you're low income, I think a lot of the folks that we work with maybe have recently lost a spouse that was sort of in charge of that kind of thing. And so sort of left at a loss of what to do with some of these problems that, if left, could eventually displace someone from their home. So to make sure that we're able to keep up on those things really helps to curb some of that housing crisis, to make sure people are able to age within their homes. So I think that one of the greatest things that we can talk about in terms of weatherizing is the assessment that the team leader does on the home. So we do work with low income, often elderly or disabled folks that are in some sort of a repair crisis. And that usually is what prompts them to submit the application. But once the application is received and the job is assessed, then one of the volunteer teams is paired with the homeowner, and the team lead does a really comprehensive assessment of the home. Do you want to talk about a little bit about what that assessment looks like in terms
Sure.
of not just the job that they've applied for, but all of the things that you take a look at?
Yeah, Katie's right. Typically, we'll get a request for someone who has, their windows are leaky, or recently we had somebody whose stairs from the house were really falling apart, and in order to stay safe, they pulled them away from the house and only had one means of exit. So in the process of doing an assessment, we said, well, we can fix the stairs, we can build you some new ones, but you don't have locks on your doors. This door doesn't have a gasket. We can put sweeps on the bottoms of floors. And we look at the windows to see whether or not they close. Are they single or double glazed? If they're single glazed in reasonable condition, we might recommend putting window inserts in. If they're double glazed and they're relatively modern, we might look to make sure that they're sealed. And in one house, you go from every place from replacing the windows altogether, and we've done that on a number of occasions. Here's a good example here where this homeowner had a number of windows that were single glazed. The glazing points and the glazing had mostly disappeared, and the whole window had really failed. We decided that the person probably needed new windows. And for pretty short money, we were able to replace 2 windows. This person had boarded up the windows in the wintertime because they were so drafty. And we were able to put in pretty modern looking windows that looked like that when we were done. On the inside, the outside, and they were double glazed, double hung, locking, and once they were sealed, they were pretty tight little windows. While we were there, just to give you a sense of what we're looking at or what we were looking for, we were getting to the end of the project, we thought, and this person had nice tight steel doors and that closed and had decent gaskets. He was bringing in a big sheet of plywood and was telling us that he was going to basically screw it over this door that you see in the bottom of the picture because it was cold, and the steel doors, as most of us may know, radiate cool. So he was going to screw his piece of plywood over the door shortly after we left. And we decided that ultimately it might be a good idea if we gave him a storm door because he was going to eliminate his principal exit from the house. And he was using wood to heat. We thought a safety measure like that would be important. So those are the kinds of things that we look for and see when we're doing a job like this. We also look for safety issues like I mentioned that this fellow had a stove. Was actually it met the requirements for setback from the walls and that kind of stuff. But there are some houses that we've been in where the stove is 2 or 3 inches from a combustible wall. And we would try and address that in a variety of ways. So there are a variety of things that we might do. Plumbing issues where the faucets don't turn off are things that are, little goofy things, but if you can put a couple of gaskets in the faucets, you're going to wind up saving water and saving heat from the water heaters. So those kinds of things are what we're looking at.
Yeah.
We do a lot of, Andy talked about, basement kinds of issues. This was a house that one of our teams discovered had a pretty significant gap in the foundation. And as you can see, what we did was to fill the gap in and then use some weather seal and weather stripping. But in addition, we also graded the lot so that the water from the roof actually ran away from the house, which made the basement dry. It then allowed us to put insulation under the floor because it was a dirt basement, which kept the house warmer and drier. So it was all good. And all of those things are just, you get a person who calls up and says, I've got this problem in the basement. And you go, yes, you do. And oftentimes our teams can do way more than the homeowner expects. And the solution is really helpful for saving energy, as well as making the houses usually safer.
So I would say that there are a lot of things, and even though we did have a team, excuse me, that used to build some of those window inserts that we will hear quite a bit about next, and I'll leave that to Sam. But as we were out and doing different projects, there was certainly a need for some other things. Also energy related would be some light bulbs, making sure that we're eliminating those halogen light bulbs and replacing them with LEDs. And then, of course, smoke alarms, for that safety measure to make sure that all of the things in the home are staying safe should a tragic fire occur.
We just did an assessment this week that had a person with some relatively modern smoke detectors, and the doors to both battery cabinets were open and empty. And so we're going to be replacing those so that if there's some emergency in the house, at least the person will get a warning. There's also saw some handicapped accessible door handles. And we use those in part for people that are in wheelchairs or otherwise challenged. But there are lots of people who are elderly who really can't twist a knob. And these are really helpful. Somebody with arthritis in their hands could be relatively young in the scheme of things, but needs a little bit of support. And this is an easy fix. One of these, a typical residential one of these only costs about $30. So it's a real nice way to support our clients.
And I think in terms of weatherizing, a case can be made that as you're aging in your home, there's some weatherizing that comes as just the aging process in humans, not just weatherizing a home, but making sure that as you're aging in place, that some of these things are taken care of to make sure that not just the gaps are filled in, but to make sure that once you're in the home that is energy efficient, that you're able to navigate it and that it's accessible for you.
There have been two occasions before we go to the next slide that, as Katie's talking about windows, where we received a request from people that thought that their windows either needed to be replaced or they needed new storm windows, and particularly in regard to aging or illness. We found in both locations that the windows were double glazed. One set happened to be made out of wood. But pretty nice, in one case, Pella windows, and in the other case, just a modern, vinyl clad window. And when we got into the home, both of these people were really unable to close their windows all the way, and neither of them were able to lock the windows. And we were in one case, this person was really mostly bedridden. And we were able to just walk over to the window, unlatch the lock, drop the sill down and relock it and solve the problem. So I think part of what's helpful and an interesting discovery for us is that just being there makes a big difference. And there's so many people that we've, and I'm sure others of you that have worked in this business, I've discovered when we get partway through a job that we suddenly give the homeowner, in some cases, hope that their situation will improve or that somebody cares. And that gets to the fact that I think about a third of our housing is 100 years old or more, according to some things that I've read. And it's not always in great shape. And people who age out, whoever's the handy person in the house doesn't do it anymore. And all of a sudden things build up and get really bad really quickly. And you lose hope that it could get better.
So I'm quickly going through some of these other things that are more safety and accessibility versus some weatherizing. But certainly if there are people in your community or people that as Mainers, we look out for each other. So as you're weatherizing your own home, if there are neighbors that you think could use this service, by all means, our website is there and applications are available, and we're happy to help anybody we can.
Yep. And as we've said, we'll do almost anything. Well, our team's motto is let's first not break anything. And we've been pretty successful about that. But we'll do everything from some minor plumbing to tomorrow we're about to complete a 36-foot wheelchair ramp for somebody. So it runs the gamut of home repairs. So thanks for inviting us to speak. And
Thank you. Thank you for coming. What's the end of this? Repair and stay in your home?
Yes.
Ah,
Here, let me see it. Let me move that over here.
Andrew, would you like me to share my screen? That's fine if you'd like that.
I can handle it for you, Sam. No worries.
Okay. Thanks, everybody, for being here. And I'm grateful to the Topsham Energy Committee, too, for having this opportunity to speak. Unlike the wonderful work that Habitat and Andy and Efficiency in Maine perform, we're sort of a one-trick pony. We build insulating window inserts that mount inside an existing window. And I'm going to get right into it because I don't have too much time, and talk about the reality that windows can be a blessing and a curse. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about the technical problems that can arise from windows, but all of us at one point or another have probably been in a very drafty room like the gent down there in the bottom of the picture, feeling like the room is just not comfortable in wintertime. It's too cold. Air is getting warm. Air is getting out. Cold air is getting in. Drafts are moving around because of the stack effect in the home with warm air rising and getting out through the attic. And so we use a design that was come up with by an energy auditor who lives in Edgecombe. His name is Topher Belknap, and what we did was we kind of systematized how to get these things put together by volunteers. So I should check my present mode here so you can see better. You can see the woman working on the final step of one of these window inserts. She's putting on the weather stripping. But we are volunteers building insulating interior window inserts that make homes more comfortable. They save on heating costs and reduce polluting fossil fuel emissions. And we've been in business for about a decade now. We celebrated our 10th birthday in August up in Searsmont, where our production center is. And since that time, we've built about 46,000 inserts, both in Maine and Vermont. We started expanding out of state a couple of years ago. And our production center is up in Searsmont. By production, I mean that's where the wood gets cut and drilled for the frames. And that's where all the supplies are kept that we send out to local communities. But the local communities put the insulating window inserts together. We have only one full-time employee, an executive director, and up to 8 seasonal employees. And I'll tell you about those seasonal employees later on. One thing we've made a commitment to is supplying 25% of the inserts we build to people who are struggling to make ends meet. And we do that by providing up to 10 inserts at no cost to folks in that category. And there's no paperwork when our measures come to the home. They can be asked, you can have a conversation with them, and if the need is there, we'll provide them free of charge. Our now, I'm not seeing my whole screen here, but anyway, our costs average about $40 for those who are paying for the windows. And of course, that's much lower than what you would have to pay to purchase and install a replacement window. And they can be ordered in natural pine, which has been in the past sourced from Maine. It was difficult this year because of the lumber crisis in the spring to acquire the wood that we needed from Maine in the lengths we needed. And they can be painted white at additional cost if you're paying for your inserts. They're removable for the warm weather, so that you can get some fresh air from the outside into your house. You just store them in a safe place. They reduce drafts, condensation, and street noise. We've all seen water running down the inside of even a double glazed window on a very cold day. But these pretty much solve that problem, and they reduce street noise as well. So it's hard to get, really accurate data for what the payback period is. But we think that in most cases, these inserts will pay for themselves in a couple of years. And if you have single glazed windows, they'll pay for themselves probably in less than a year. They double the insulating value of double paned windows, and maybe they do even better than that because they create 2 additional dead air spaces in addition to the dead air space in a double glazed window. And so they last for about 10 years if you take good care of them. They don't like cactus plants on the windowsill or cats batting mosquitoes, that kind of thing. You can get in trouble, but we will rewrap them for a $15 charge if you bring them in. But we have people who've had them installed for 10 years, even year round in some windows. And eventually the polyolefin requires a rewrap. And we can do that for you. We think that they save up to about a gallon of heating oil. Now, you've probably been looking at the illustrations here. This was at the Wells Reserve in a building there that had single glazed windows. And the thermometer was placed on each windowsill for 15 minutes in 2 rooms that were on the same side of the house. They were drafty old windows, and you can see in the room that had no insert, the temperature was something like 46 or 47 degrees. And in the room where there was a window dresser's insert installed, the temperature was 70 degrees. So that was largely because of air intrusion on a cold day. It was windy outside. It was about 29 degrees. And our local coordinator down in Wells took this picture. He was so impressed by the difference in temperature. So volunteers run the show. We set local volunteers up. They form a committee, a team of people willing to work on a project. They recruit measuring teams. We train the measurers how to go about it, who visit people's homes for that. They need to find a free workshop location that can be occupied for about 5 days. And they have measurers who measure windows, and at the time of measurement collect payment if the windows are going to be paid for. And they recruit and schedule volunteers. And one important aspect of that is that if you're buying inserts or getting them free, we ask you to help build them. Usually we have 1 shift in the evening and a shift on the weekend for people who are working. But many of our volunteers come just because they enjoy the work and are already retired. We have a lot of older people who do this work. Not a single job that we have in assembling these windows is terribly difficult, and we teach people on the spot when they arrive to put in a 4-hour shift. The local committee will be responsible for moving the tools and jigs and materials on that we provide, the leftover materials when they're done, onto the next community build in another town. We supervise volunteers at the local coordinators and their team supervise volunteers at a 5 to 6 day community workshop. So this happens typically once a year in a community over a period of 5 or 6 days. It happened in Brunswick about a month ago, and you can go to our website and see that there are about 40 other towns involved in both Maine and Vermont. A couple were canceled this year because of COVID concerns. So that drove down our numbers a little bit. The local coordinator also arranges for customer insert, pickup, and delivery. Often people come and take their windows home with them after they volunteered for a shift. Just quickly, I think I better keep moving rather than talk about the pictures because time is short. Wages have not kept up with energy costs. I'm sure you've seen in the paper recently that the price of electricity is going up, natural gas is going up. And so old windows, as we know, are very expensive to replace. Maybe you're a lucky Habitat participant. That's one way to get them less expensively. But low-income participants can receive up to 10 at no cost. As I said, our inserts are great for double hung windows, the kind that you push up, for crank out, or otherwise known as casement windows. They go where the screen usually fits. They're wonderful for basement windows if you have a good landing space for them down there. Often those windows are in the toughest shape of the windows in a home, and a lot of cold air is getting in down there. And of course, skylights, they're good for too, because the warm air that rises to the ceiling is making some escape through those skylights. What we'd love for you to do is tell your neighbors and your friends about us. Volunteer at one of our community builds if you're interested in seeing how all this works. They're all over the state. Or join a local team and set up a community build in your own community. As I think I said earlier, we're kind of a seasonal operation. We lay plans in winter for the next season. We provide training to measurers and coordinators. We order the materials we'll need in the early summer and recruit customers. It's not so easy to recruit customers in the summer when the weather is warm and people want to be outside and on vacation and not thinking about the winter ahead. So we do a lot of measuring in the early fall. And then in the fall, we build the inserts. Our season usually extends into January, but because of the COVID, we decided only to schedule through November. So we're right now finishing up the last 3 window builds in Maine. So to sign up for inserts, you can go to our website, windowdressers.org. It's all one word. There's a sign up button right on the home page. If you're interested in setting up a community build in your own community, you should contact our executive director, Laura Seaton. She's up in Searsport. And to learn more about what we do, or if you have questions about things I haven't had time to answer this evening, give me a call. My number's at the bottom of the screen, or of course, you can talk to our executive director, Laura. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sam.
I'll stop sharing my screen here.
Well, thank you to all these wonderful speakers. It's a lot of information and people know how to follow up a bit there. Victor?
Yes.
would you like-
We have a few questions that I can throw out to the panel. Let me see. Let me start with an easy one. Are solar installers included in your list? I suspect that's for Andy.
The answer is yes. On our list of installers, we have a category for solar. So you find solar installers from across the state.
And also, do the rebates apply to seasonal homes or just to primary residence?
There's lots of fine print for Heat pump water heaters, it could be either. For heat pumps, the way to get your energy savings is to be using them all heating season. So if it's a summer cottage, we wouldn't offer a rebate for a heat pump. That's for a seasonal, it's not going to be heated. Likewise, for insulation, the way you make it cost effective is it has to be in a house that's heated throughout the heating season. So each upgrade has different rules, but generally speaking, the ones related to heating, where the energy savings comes from heating, has to be a year-round house or occupied through the winter anyway. And the other ones like light bulbs and clothes washers and water heaters do not need to be year-round. But go to efficiencymaine.com for details. That's the lawyer saying it. Go to the website for details.
Lots of detail there, yes. And also, this is a little bit more complicated question, and I'm not sure who best to answer this, but we have one attendee who's, let's see, I'm sorry, weatherized their home, and they included insulating blinds over double pane windows. And apparently they have a fair amount of moisture buildup, so much that the mold forms on the blinds. But they do have exhaust fans and in the house. So the question is, this has happened, they've had them for 2 winters, so they've had some experience with this. It's not just a one-time thing. So any suggestions on what could be causing that? I can say I have insulating blinds. I have double cell insulating blinds on my windows, and I do get a little frost on the windows on very cold nights, but I do not experience that level of moisture at all. It's usually once I open them in the morning, the moisture is all gone. So especially on the cold winter nights when the air is dry in the house because of the heat's on. So
I gave a detailed answer to that person. I think it was S. Kane
yeah,
in the chat.
I'm just,
And I guessed correctly that I think Sam's program could help her out, because we have built our own window inserts and we don't get moisture on those windows. It's only on my own cold windows and that I wipe down every morning that I get the condensation.
Unless you're running a humidifier in the house that's making it moister than it should be, we found that the inserts that we build pretty much take care of that problem, because the surface on the windows is much warmer if you've added 2 additional dead air spaces inside the existing window.
yeah. I do that myself. I have the window inserts and the double insulating blinds, and I tell you that it's amazing how warm that can make a room. So
I should add, though, that it can be problematic if you've got blinds. Sometimes the blinds have to be moved. We need at least 5/8 of an inch or a little more of landing space around the window insert, that thickness. So the blinds sometimes have to be moved into the home to make it possible to have the window inserts installed.
Yeah.
I think sometimes one of the issues that we find is that people are venting their clothes dryer in the house, or that they haven't vented the shower exhaust fan, so it's being vented into the ceiling, and that might cause some issues that you're describing.
Huh. One more question. Let me just make sure. Yeah, okay. How to best insulate wood bulkhead doors?
Bulkhead doors are one of the biggest wastes of energy. Attic hatches are as well, but that heat is going up into the attic, and you can't feel it. It's sneakier, but those are the two of the worst areas, because the very bottom of the house, very top of the house, called stack effect. There's a lot of vacuum of the heat pulling in, and bulkhead doors are big offenders in energy waste. And there are many ways to do it. I would recommend going to efficiencymaine.com, finding a contractor who could do that. They could do a fantastic job. But the general concept is to put a second door. So at the bottom of the bulkhead door steps, You can make a plywood door and then often see them insulated with rigid foam insulation. But you're really trying to put the bulkhead outside what's called the thermal envelope, treat it as the equivalent of an exterior door at the foot of the bulkhead. And that can reduce moisture and cold air from coming in. Guard, and Kate, you folks are doing this for a living. Would you have other comments as to how you handle bulkhead doors?
We don't see too many steel doors. And so one of the ways that we would do it is we'd use rigid foam, but you can actually use a bulkhead that you would find on a boat to place over a set of wooden doors with some foam. And so that's an effective way to deal with something that's relatively old, where you're talking maybe about a dirt basement where there's no sill and frame to build an interior door. It's always a challenge, and one of the things that makes the job interesting from my point of view, but also defies logic sometimes, is everyone is different. And so we recently did a house that had a bulkhead that was to a bifold wooden door underneath the porch roof, but it was outside. And we actually recommended building a wooden bulkhead to put over it. Partly because the bulkhead was unsecured, and if you stepped on it, you would fall into the basement.
Good thinking.
One more question, actually from an Energy Committee member. Are you finding it hard that there's a shortage of qualified energy auditors? And what's the best way to find an energy auditor?
I'll speak to that. On efficiencymaine.com, which I mentioned in the slides, I'd be more than happy to give folks a demo, but our locator tool lists all the energy auditors in the state, and they are getting busy. With oil prices going up, people are making the investments they wish they'd made years ago. And I spoke with one energy auditor company yesterday, and they said they're booking now into February. So there is a lot of demand. People are really taking energy efficiency very seriously. That said, we do have contractors of all types. We do have 800 on our website. So if the first one's busy, we've got 799 other ones to call, and all of them are certified and insured, licensed to do the work inside a code of conduct. So that's what we're trying. That's one of the big things we're able to help people do, is find a contractor that can do the work for them. And then we throw in the rebates and financing on top of that. So efficiencymaine.com is the short answer.
Okay. I think that's all the questions we have. Oh, go ahead.
Actually, I'm holding off a little bit here.
Okay.
I want to mention that Kennebec Valley Community Action Program, and I just put this in the chat. Unfortunately, it's in Waterville, but they have similar programs in weatherizing, in home repair programs, replacing heating systems or repairing them, oil tanks the same way. They have emergency heat funds if your heat supply is about to run out in 3 days or less. They have the federal HEAP heating assistance funds that come out annually, and I think more have been appropriated this year. And they will help with electric. You're in arrears on your electric bills. They'll help with a payment plan. So call them at 859-1500 and fill out some applications. And then you can do a lot of this through email. But go to the website, which I think. I don't have it right here, but you can call them and get their website.
We'll post it at topsommaine.com/weatherize.
Wonderful. Okay, so I have a few questions here about where's the major areas of heat loss from a house. I have my own ideas that it's mostly roof and basement, but and then walls, and then finally windows and doors. Am I right about that? It depends on the house, I suppose, and the age. Yeah.
I'll comment on that, but with fellow experts, you're right. Generally, houses inhale cold air at the bottom of the house and they exhale the heated air at the top. So that's where you're going to find the biggest leaks.
Yeah.
So bulkheads are terrible.
Yeah.
Attic hatches are terrible. And I just want to say, if you want to do it on your own, make sure you weather strip your attic hatch. And sometimes it's nice to have little hooks so you pull it down tight, crushing the, compressing the weather stripping and locking in that position. Those would be two areas, but there are also a lot of holes that we have. So chimney chases, we build space for fire reasons so that there's nothing touching the chimney, and that's a direct place for heat to go up and out into the attic and leave the house. That can be sealed with sheet metal and the appropriate fire rated caulking. Other chase is a fancy word for hole. There's wiring chases. So you build a nice tight house and then an electrician come and drills giant holes so he or she can have plenty of room for the wires and they leave. So sealing those in the attic and the basement can be helpful. And plumbing chases, again, holes, same type of thing where the plumber drills holes through a floor or a ceiling to work pipes through. That could be an area of leaking. And then Sam and Kate and Guard can speak to this, but double hung windows, the old ones have the counterweights, a rope and a big heavy counterweight. A lot of times those are cut and removed, but the empty space is left there. It's those empty spaces that can bring in hot and cold air. Those would be some that come to my mind quickly, but I would call on Guard,
Thank you
Kate,
for
and
this.
Sam.
One other source from Windows is when people simply forget to lock the windows during the
Yes.
winter time.
Yes.
When you lock a window, if it's functioning properly, it'll pull the top sash against the bottom sash, and also make sure that the top and the bottom are all the way up and down. So good thing to check.
All right.
Right, and the other thing that reminds me of is that if you drop the window down and you lock it, and it's a vinyl clad window and you haven't actually engaged the lock in the catch,
Mhm.
you're actually creating a bigger problem because you're pushing the bottom or the top of the window out. And there's a big gap when you do that. So make sure that when you close the window and you spin whatever kind of mechanism you do, that you're actually engaging the catch.
Nancy, you said you had theories. How's that compare with your theories?
Well, that sounds like what I've been taught from a habitat training program many years ago. A last thought I had is, and I'm really putting a plug in for a good quality energy audit but people can rent infrared detectors, or not even rent, they can obtain them from their libraries. And use them around the joints, the places that Andy's just mentioned, and the windows, doors, joints between walls and floors, and read the temperature there and see indeed, is it, where is the cooler or the cooler spaces, and where might you insert some weather stripping or other insulation. But to me, a good energy audit will show you exactly where you're losing your heat from the house and give you a price comparison, or what are the most effective strategies,
Investments. Yeah.
steps to take for the least money.
I have a question for Andy. Andy, I don't know or can't recall if your folks who come in for the weatherization program do a blower door test before and after. Is that not part of the program?
Thank you for asking, Sam. When I went zipping along in the slides, I said insulation, I said $3,500. I just read the total. The fine print was, we'll offer one of the best offers we have is we'll pay $500 toward a $600 energy assessment that includes 6 hours of air sealing. It's not a free lunch, but it's pretty close to a free lunch. And that gives you the information that Nancy's talking about.
Yes.
What you may find is your house, the windows that you were sure you needed to replace might be a 30-year payback And that bulkhead door, the attic hatch that you never really thought anything about, that might be that might be a less than 1 year payback. So there's various ranges of depth of energy assessment, but in answer to your question, Sam, all of them include a blower door test, which is a air leak detection method where they put up a temporary fabric door in your exterior door frame, and they run a fan, and it measures how much is the total leaks of all the leaks in the house. And Nancy, if you have an infrared camera, that's the best time to use infrared camera while the blower door is using, because actually the air is leaking out on the second floor. It's hard to see that with a infrared camera. It's actually quite warm on the second floor. The warm air is whistling out. You can spot it in the basement, but it's tougher to see in the second floor. With the blower door, all the air leaks are leaking in because the fan's blowing air out, and there's a very sensitive meter there, and it can tell you the sum total of all the air leaks in the house. And a lot of these guys will express it as far as how does it compare to like a 2 foot by 3 foot open window. That would be an example of all the air leaks in the house. And that can give you a good feel for what you want to do on your own in sealing air leaks, or if you want to hire a professional. And that $500 rebate, as I mentioned, would be for an energy assessment with a blower door, plus 6 hours of professional air sealing. And we found that 6 hours of professional air sealing can save 70 gallons of oil per year. So even if you don't do anything, you get that assessment and you have great ideas, and for some reason you just don't get around to actually acting on them, you're still going to have your money back in before the end of winter. So the blower door is a great way to start.
Andy, thank you so much for answering my even unasked questions.
Oh, good.
And thank you all for this presentation. It's been very helpful. People can watch it recorded on the energy website of Topsham. Good night to all. Stay warm.
Thanks, Nancy.
Good night.
Thanks.